Book recommendation. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for being a part of the family. Click the link in the description and go subscribe to my podcast. Guys, thank you. We are now boasting over 100,000 subscribers thanks to your support and plugging in as part of the family. If you can throw in some super thanks over there. And very soon I'm going to get you guys some merchandise. I know you've been asking for it. It's been quite some time. Click the link in the description. It'll take you to the podcast. We are now boasting over 200,000 subscribers once again, thanks to you. Today's book is this one. The Man Who Founded the ANC. A biography of Pixley ka Isaka Seme by Bongani Ngulunga. This is the book. If you get this book, any bookstore, get it. I recommend it. Sorry, my light is just brightening this book. You can't see it properly, but yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, it's like this. This is how it looks like. All right, let's get into it. A quick one, very short video. I won't make it long. Pixley ka Isaka Seme, best known as founder of the ANC, has long needed a biography. This is it. Well written, well researched. A fascinating account of the life of a flawed but hugely important figure, Dr. Brian Willan from Rhodes University. In 1912, just over a year after returning from his studies at Columbia and Oxford, the 30-year-old Pixley ka Isaka Seme succeeded where others had failed in forming a political organization that represented all black South Africans. Seme also established a national newspaper, became one of the most pioneering black lawyers in South Africa, bought land from white farmers for black settlement at the time when opposition to it was gaining momentum, became an advisor and confidant to African royalty, and was considered a leading visionary for black economic empowerment. And yet, when he became President General of the ANC in the 1930s, he brought to its knees through sheer ineptitude and an authoritarian style of leadership. On more than one occasion, he was found guilty of breaching the law, which partly led him to being struck off the roll of attorneys. The book discusses in detail Seme's extraordinary life, tracing it back to his humble beginnings at the Inanda mission, to his triumphs and disappointments across the continents. In his public and private life, when Seme died in 1951, he was bankrupt and his political standing had suffered greatly, and yet he was praised as one of the greatest South African thinkers to have ever lived. For all this, he has largely been forgotten. This biography brings the remarkable life of this extraordinary South African back to public consciousness. Educated at the University of, now I'm talking about Bongani Ngulunga. This is his little resume, so you understand the person that researched and wrote this book to pay tribute to the legacy of the man who founded the ANC. All right. Educated at the University of Natal in South Africa and Brown University in the USA, where he obtained his doctoral degree, Bongani Ngulunga is a senior research associate at the University of Johannesburg. He previously worked at the policy unit in the presidency of the Republic of South Africa and currently serves as both the chief of staff and spokesperson to the president of South Africa. The man who founded the ANC. Let me do this. Hey. A biography by Bongani Ngulunga. This book is dedicated to two generations of Ngulungas. Firstly, to my parents for the gift of life, and secondly, to my children, Mijelo Kwande and Sakiwe, for the gift of love. The contents of this book starts with the introduction and about 11 chapters. The Bastards Hunters, that's chapter 1. Chapter 2 is the education of an African patriot. Chapter 3 is the moving spirit. Chapter 4 is the Swazi Nation's attorney. Chapter 5, Zulu Royals. Chapter 6, Dachakral. Chapter 7, Betrayed Trust. Chapter 8, Tula Sizwe of the Black Race. Chapter 9, Fall from Grace. Chapter 10, In from the Cold. Chapter 11, We Are One People. Then it's got acknowledgements, it's got abbreviations, notes, index, etc. I don't want to oppose the policy of Congress or to play solo in any shape or form. The President General must be supported by all our people, and I will do the same, close quote. Pixley ka Isaka Seme. The introduction says, the death of Pixley ka Isaka Seme on Thursday morning, the 7th of June 1951, at his legal practice in central Johannesburg came as a shock to black people in South Africa and neighboring territories. Although Seme was close to 70, his death took everybody by surprise, including his wife, Princess Pixley, the eldest daughter, uDinizulu kaCetshwayo. When her husband died, she and their 3 children were not in Johannesburg at the time. They had relocated to Mahashini in the Nongoma district of Natal, where she had built a home not far from the royal homestead of Cyprian Kasolomon, her nephew and the Zulu king at the time. The first she heard of her husband's illness was an urgent message that she should travel to Johannesburg immediately. By the time she arrived, Seme was dead. His body was already in a mortuary in Alexandra Township outside of Johannesburg. Seme's death followed closely upon that of Sefako Makgato, just 2 weeks before, on the 23rd of May 1951. Now, 4 of the first 5 African National Congress presidents were deceased, John Dube and Josiah Gumede, having died in 1946. Only Reverend Zacchaeus Mahabane remained, and he would live on until 1971, eventually passing away at the age of 90. Although Seme had by then abandoned active politics, the news of his death nevertheless evoked a deep sense of loss, resulting in impassioned eulogies in black newspapers. The Bantu world captured the dominant sentiment of the time. If today Basutus, Zulus, Xhosas, Shangans, Bachuanas, and vendors, well, Bachuanas, meaning I think Botswana, but at the time it was spelled Bechuanas, as in C-H-U-A, Chua. Bechuanas and vendors know themselves as Africans, and that Africa is the land of their fathers. They owe this to the inspiring foundation of African nationalism laid by Pixley Isaka Seme. Ilanga lase Natal echoed this in an editorial. The passing away of Dr. Seme removes from our midst one of the pioneers of African nationalism. Indeed, it might be said it brings a close, important era in the political life of the African people. In a tribute, Jordan K. Ngubane, editor of Inkundla Yabantu, went so far as to suggest that Seme would go down in history as the greatest African of the 51st years of the 21st century, if not of the century as a whole. You can read further. I was just trying to entice you a little bit by reading a part of the introduction. It is an incredible book. If you can, read it again and again. Read it more than 2 times, read it more than 3 times. It's an awesome, awesome book. It will enlighten you. It'll give you an idea as to where the ANC comes from. It'll give you an idea of history, and it'll make sense for you of what's happening right now. But it'll also hurt you of what's going on with the movement of this great man over here, Oba Pixley Isaka Seme. When you look at the ANC of today, it's not the same as this ANC. What this ANC meant for a black people in South Africa and what the current ANC means, it saddens us that in just 30 years, we are throwing around words of having given back some of the gains that have been made over the past 30 years back to Abalungwini. We are giving around or going around in debates and talks of having not delivered for our people. We have sold the country's parastatals. We have gone into bed with the enemy in some parts of our politics. We have betrayed our people. We have not serviced the country the best way that we could have. We have got the highest unemployment, youth unemployment rate of all time. We are I don't like repeating negatives. I also would focus on the positives. A lot of progress has been made over the years. Electricity, infrastructure. South Africa is one of the most greatest countries in the continent. It's one of the most developed countries in the continent with its roads, its highways, its infrastructure, its banking system. Yes, the education still lacks. Yes, service delivery issues. Yes, we fight and tuga these politicians daily and want to hold them to account. But the ANC of this man, when he started it, Oba Pixley Isaka Seme, is different from the current ANC that you know today, that has lived over 100 years. But if you go read this book and many others, they'll give you an idea and some sort of understanding of what the movement called the ANC, how it started, how over the years other leaders joined the movement, and how it liberated the black community in South Africa over the years, where right now a lot of people are very angry with the ANC. It has split it into multiple groups, into multiple political parties, and we find ourselves to be where we are right now in 2024. But if you go read your history, always gives you a better idea of understanding your future. Go get this book. I recommend it. I'll see you guys on the next book recommendation video. I love you. Danko.